Sprinkle Some Love by Trisha Mullin podcast. Here today we have Christa, my sister, my favorite person. What I would like to do is kind of ask her a couple questions about her and her life and a little bit of what she's been through. But let's go ahead and welcome her.
Hi guys, how's it going? So I'm Christa. I am, what, you want me to share about my life starting now? Right now?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about you. Share a little bit about your life. Maybe your immediate family. Let's start there. Do you have children? Do you have a husband?
All right. I have 2 children. I have a 4-year-old girl and an 8-year-old girl, about to be 5 and 9 in August, both of them. I'm divorced. I run a nonprofit organization, Canvas for the Cause, and I also have a podcast called Advice from a Sunflower. Trisha's my big sister. She works with me on all my awesome projects. She's my Canvas for the Cause vice president, my CEO, my everything. She helps get a lot of shit done, so I like that.
My right-hand person together, me and you.
Oh yeah, and what else about my life? It has just like creating Canvas for the Cause brought me closer to my family and my friends, and it brought out a lot of like things that like I was just kind of like teaching my children how to work and how to like value their moments and how to give to others and how to like see when you're struggling, like you can still give back and you can still, like you don't have to continually be the one that's blessed. And so I think that changed like just my relationships as a whole and my perception of giving back and stuff, I guess, pretty much.
Alrighty. So tell us a little bit about your health and kind of starting at wherever you feel you want to start at, but working your way up to current.
I think that it all kind of started like I was pretty healthy throughout my, childhood and everything, but then I started having issues with, once I started having a period or once I started, going through hormone changes is when all the issues kind of started, mainly, cysts on the ovaries and endometriosis and things like that. And then it began, just kind of growing. And later I had trouble, having children, and then I had trouble with the pregnancies, and I had trouble with, my kidneys and my thyroid and my, all these things.
Yes. And so for those of you who don't know, me and Christa kind of suffer from all of those things that she just named, her and I share in common. So over time, we were able to develop this relationship based upon some of our health issues and like identifying what was going on with our own bodies or each other's bodies and helping each other figure out each other, kind of like a puzzle piece. We were able to help each other figure out, well, this is what's going on.
Right, the missing links and stuff.
Yeah, like I was diagnosed with thyroid disease, and then she was like, well, I'm going to get tested, and she was diagnosed, or she was diagnosed with like lupus and kept telling me to go get tested for lupus, and then finally I did, and it was lupus. So we were able to use her team of doctors and my team of doctors without actually knowing each other to kind of tag team different things, and whatever diagnosis she found out she had, I would just have them check, and lo and behold, they would find out I have it, or she would do the same thing. I would get a diagnosis, and since I'm a few years older than her, we kind of realized this pattern where my diseases would get diagnosed, and a few years later she would then pick up those same diseases or those same symptoms that would later lead to those diagnoses. So
right.
She was always just like 2 steps behind me until we got to a point in our life where we chose different treatment plans at different times, and our health kind of took a different twist where our list of diseases kind of started to become different a little bit based upon what we had and what we didn't have, or what treatment we had or what treatment we didn't have for her body and my body. So back to that, now that we are at that point, when did you realize you had cancer?
I don't think I really knew that I had cancer for a long time, but I knew something was wrong, and I just kept going to the doctors and saying things, and they just ran tests and they didn't run the right ones. They just didn't focus in the right areas.
Yes,
and
most of the time we were looking for that underlying cause, and both of us, but it seemed to be different things. How did you, what task led you to that underlying cause?
Well, finally, I think it was one doctor just saw something that was in my blood work that another one might have overlooked. And then finally, like I was pregnant and my baby stopped growing and we had lost the other one. And it was just like, like what's going on? So then they started running tests. And then I had the baby. We induced at 30 weeks and she came out healthy. So we were like, well, it must be me, And so then we started kind of actually digging into what it could have been and
So
finding
the
that out.
evaluation after having Savannah led into that.
No, we had started looking for answers after I had Savannah, but she was 4 years old when we finally got them.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was waiting to get to, the 4-year point. And I remember during those 4 years, my sister struggling to try to figure out what this underlying cause was. In the meantime, I was struggling with my own battles that were similar but a little different, trying to figure out my underlying cause. So there was times that we weren't able to be together for, when I would like to help her through her treatment, so she would like to come help me after surgery and recover, or like
Right.
we were there for each other in mental ways way more than physical ever. But the mental connection that her and I developed over this time has become a beautiful bond that has grown into a value relationship that turned into a business relationship that turned into, just everything.
Everything, yeah, like it's just a support system and it's good to have and just know that you guys, like we're in each other's corner.
Yeah,
For sure.
How has living through cancer changed you and made your life feel more valuable?
I think I just have a different perspective on life than I did before. I think I take more time to like enjoy the little things and like taking the moments, the people. Sometimes I think it's like I'm just more grateful overall, and it's kind of just something that I have a second chance, and I've had a third chance now even, and it's just like every day you just are thankful that you have another morning. So it's kind of like just take that and enjoy all of the moments and all the things. And sometimes I'll like get angry less, or I'll notice that I'm, maybe I'm less quick to like judge somebody, or maybe I, feel more helpful at times when I didn't used to always feel that like need to like help others or, any of that. And now I have that. And before I really, I still liked helping. I just didn't feel like it was my driving force in life.
Well, when I want to bring that part of the conversation to that driving force, I remember there was a point in time during your fight that you kind of were suffering from depression. So I kind of want to talk about that for a moment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so how did you fight depression, and like how did that affect your cancer as a disease and your depression like as a whole? Because they're two separate entities, but somehow they affect our body as a whole. And whenever we're given any form of diagnosis, I kind of feel like depression comes secondary. It's kind of part of what we do before we decide to cope. So how did that work for you?
I definitely, like I've always struggled with depression. I've been diagnosed clinically depressed and I have anxiety like since a kid. But I think that it just escalated when I got sick because I wasn't really sure how to handle my emotions or how to control the situation. And for a while I just kind of like unpacked and lived in there. Like I was like, okay, this is what it is. And let it consume me. And instead I could have, kind of turned my perspective around and maybe gotten through it a little bit quicker had I just kind of like, learned how to cope with the situation instead of bring it down, like bring me down. And so I think that, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was really loving what you were going to say. So I was going to ask you if you could describe depression in a few words. You just kind of did that already, but if you could describe it in an overall being, like how, like you said, it consumed you, but what else did it do to you? Did it break you down?
I think that people view depression as, they're like a certain way, but a lot of people don't always show that they're depressed. Like you might still seem like you're happy, or you might still seem like things are fine and that you have it all together, and then inside you're kind of freaking out a little, or maybe you just don't want to get out of bed, or you isolate yourself from, people in general, your friends, you start pushing them away, and maybe you just ignore all the signs that your body's telling you about depression.
So, in the process of ignoring your body, how did you realize that you needed help? How did you realize that you were even depressed or that this was even an issue?
I think that it was just something that I knew. Like, I knew I was depressed, and I knew that things weren't piecing together in my life as well as I wanted them to. And so I just kind of started working towards like changing the areas that were bringing me down and just kind of putting out some positive affirmations and kind of like reconstructing the vibes I put out into the world and bringing myself back up. And
So,
hopefully,
you said you were down. How? What do you mean by down? How would you classify that? Because some people here might not have ever struggled with depression, so their version of down might not be the same. I'm really hoping to give the audience a hands-on feel. So,
well, say
we're
maybe one day you're just quick to react about something and it's kind of negative. Like maybe you flip out on somebody who you normally wouldn't, or maybe you kind of don't want to even go
so
on.
rage.
Right. And maybe you don't want to go to the plans that you've made for the last however long. Or maybe you show that you're really into something, you're really excited about something like externally, but like internally you're kind of feeling some way. And that's like a red flag for you. Like, how do I feel? Like, take how you feel and like judge how your body is like paying attention to everything, because that's how you're resonating with it. So like if you can tell like my body doesn't feel good about this, like judge how your emotions are with that connection to your body.
So, what made you depressed about having health issues, or how did being sick affect your depression? Because you kind of mentioned you always had it and you always knew. So, was there a point where it got worse because you were sick, or that they become something to where they were affecting each other? And how did you, how did you
I
realize
think that
that affected
they
you?
started to kind of go hand in hand for sure. I think that getting sick obviously caused a little bit more depression to come out again, but I also think that like once I got sick, I could get a grasp. After a while, I learned to get a grasp on my emotions, and it kind of helped me work through my depression. Because I began being so grateful, and I began just feeling, blessed that I was there and happy and thankful and enjoying the moments where my kids were, just playing or happy, like the little things. So then
Yeah.
that kind
So
of
is that what
started.
started to get you out of depression? Because I remember there was a
Yeah,
moment where
definitely
you
that
and
is
I
it.
had phone calls back and forth, and we would talk about just getting up every day and making sure you do your daily things like your hair or your makeup, or just cooking that beautiful meal with those kids, or baking that cookie, or setting up the Christmas tree,
Right, and
or
that's a
just,
huge part. It's just like making sure that you show up every day for your life and trying to
yeah.
not like live every day like there's
Did you
nothing
realize you
wrong.
weren't at some time?
There was a point where I was like, I'm not taking advantage of the time that I have actually right here in front of me. So yeah, definitely. But at the same time, it was like just trying to figure out my balance and trying to remind myself, like, get up and do my makeup and wake up and take care of myself and learn to love myself again. And it'll kind of bring me out of this. And eventually, everything, like the roles just started switching.
So, what was the hardest hump of depression for you to overcome to where you could get to that point to where the roles started switching? What was that hardest last hump that you felt like, like we're trying to climb out of depression often at times, but we feel like we're never climbing out, but then we get over that last hump and then we realize that we're here. What was that hump for you? When did you realize, you know, that you were making it through it?
I think after I got divorced, probably was like the divorce was definitely hard because it was the biggest change on my family. And it was after he had just been there for me through a lot of stuff, and he was helpful throughout the entire cancer journey.
So you felt guilty.
Right, but at the same time I knew it was what was right. And we needed to separate, and things were going, they were just going down. And we had procrastinated it long enough. So once I realized that sometimes it's like easier just to let go and not hold on to something, that I just kind of started to let go, and then things began falling into place. And I had to work through everything and learn to like accept that the picture isn't always the same as what the outcome of it is. You know, like that picture will
I
really
sure
get
do.
you.
I sure do. And that gives me back to like the medical journey in a way, because doctors paint this picture of what they feel is normal, and they paint this picture of what they feel is healthy. But when we're mixing all these meds and we're doing all these treatments, I don't feel that, this is always what's best. And having like a new perspective, or not always just throwing away the book. Not everything is always by the book. Doctors do so much by the book that we often forget that we can live outside of that book, and there are other options, there are other ways, there are people's fantasy of what normal is, or what a happy home is, or what a healthy person is kind of like their own thought, because everybody is different, every situation is different, every home is different, every family is different. So understanding you're different and accepting that difference really makes all the change in your life. So I definitely can see how that has helped you over the years. If you could say something to someone who's out there struggling from depression or like any medical issues, what would you say to them, and to help them identify that they're in depression, and how would they get help?
It's more like, I think I would just tell you to pay attention to what you're feeling, like what your mind is thinking and what your feeling is. Like if you feel like your heart race when something's going on, or if you feel like you get a headache from this, or pay attention to what your body is signaling you. And when you start getting into like a depression, just find something, or like a support group or a person or an item or anything, and just kind of hold on to that thing and let it like pull you back out, and like hunt the good, like search for the silver lining, like in every situation. Because sometimes, even though you're feeling down and like you're depressed, like that is a period that you could be utilizing for growth and to learn about yourself, and like self-love and self-heal, and just continue to like bring yourself out of it. Like it's not wrong to feel sad, it's not wrong to be depressed, but you can't stay there. So you have to make sure that you're just continuing to like look for things that are going to pull you back out of it,
Yes, I fully feel like your mental health, your physical health, and your overall health as a person, like the way you love yourself, the way you feel, is kind of all in one scale. And if one
Right, and it
thing,
is like your
physical
mind, your
health,
body, your soul, all of it
yes,
together plays a part.
if you're not balanced together, or you don't have a grip on all three, something's going to be off balance there. Whether it's your mental health, whether it's your physical health, whether it's your overall, all of it. Like if you have no balance in any of those things, and you're not finding the ways to love yourself and to be able to enjoy the things around you, then you become like an honorary person.
Right, and I
And
think
that
that's a
honorary
huge
person
thing too.
attracts.
I think like grounding yourself and making sure that you are, focused on your intent, and like focused on your goals and yourself, and like your priorities, and having those boundaries, and that, regulation for your life will really help you to just learn to incorporate things into your life that bring you positivity, and that bring you, potential into growing into what you should be, instead of kind of staying stagnant and staying the person that you don't want to be. Just start trying, and wake up every day and just try and find something good in it.
Definitely. So I kind of wanted to give people an aspect here, because we've talked a lot about your cancer and some of your medical conditions, but we didn't really, in case they haven't heard any of the other shows or anything, give them an idea of what cancer you suffered with, and maybe give us a timeline of some of the things you went through, or surgeries you've had to have in life, so we can get a feel for you.
I started out when I was 26. I was diagnosed with stage 3 small cell neuroendocrine carcinoma in the cervix. So I had a hysterectomy, I had my ovaries removed, I had my fallopian tubes, all those things. Ended up having to go back. We did lymphdectomy, removed several lymph nodes. We did chemo, radiation, we did all kinds of things. And then I went into remission for about a year. I was on hormone replacement. And then it came back stage 4, came back in the liver, the kidneys, the lungs. I have, different tumors along my thyroid area and in my brain, but those aren't cancerous. But we've been addressing just side effects of the chemo and side effects of the treatment and the hormones and all these different things. I went through menopause at 26. It was kind of a struggle. Other than that, then I was in remission again for a year. Just it's been on and off for 3 times now. And, it's just like a thing that you get used to having. It's not like something that I'm letting, like it doesn't define me. And in a lot of ways, cancer has brought me kind of a lot of growth. And, from this negative thing stemmed a lot of great, awesome things. So that's the good in it, I guess. Like, everything happens for a reason.
Yes, there's always a positive. So I would say, tell us a few things that you would tell to someone who's fighting cancer right now, so they don't give up hope if they feel like everything is over before it even begins, or everything is over through their fight. What would you tell them?
I mean, if it's not okay, it's not the end. No, like, seriously, like, things happen for a reason, and, you can't just stop fighting and give in and, just let it consume you, because every single day is different, and every emotion is, work, like, you can work through things. Don't feel like there's permanency in every single situation, because the only thing we know really in life, like, change is always constant. Things happen, miracles happen. So you gotta just keep going,
Yes, I do, which is actually brings me to the whole ancestor DNA thing. When Christa and I, over all these times of fights of keep going, we were looking for these underlying causes, we realized that genetic has to do something with it, because there's just too many coincidences between her diseases and my diseases where we developed all of these things. So in the future, we'll be sharing more information about these DNA tests and the genetics, and whether we were able to trace down family members that had any medical illnesses that pertain to us or not. As we continue to search, we'll share more information. So that's something I would like to talk about too. And if anybody's interested in doing the DNA test through Ancestor DNA, you can go ahead and use my promo code and get $40 off if that's something you guys are interested in. Christa, the journey and I that her and I will be sharing with the Ancestor DNA thing will be really important, because that'll play a role in how we got to where we are as, like, with our genetics. So I look forward to going over that. So
Me
Christa,
too.
where can people find you if they wanted to learn more about you, or watch or listen to anything you have going on?
You can find my podcast pretty much on any platform. Spotify, Pandora, everything. Wherever. Just Google it. Advice from a Sunflower. Or you can try to talk to me on Facebook, but I might see it. Maybe. Very unlikely. But definitely we have a Facebook page for both the podcast and Canvas for the Cause. And then canvasforthecause.org, the afastpodcast.net. We're out there.
Canvas for the Cause this year will also be doing a few things. So look forward into seeing, like, what we have going on. Pay attention, because last year we did this Angels program for Christmas where we adopted a few families that did not have cancer. That was something positive that we were able to achieve. This year we have some stuff in store. I won't spill any beans or tell y'all yet, but stay tuned for that, and go ahead and check out that page and like it. And then for me, sprinkle for some love at the cause. Check out the support group. Check out the main page on Facebook. And I'm on Facebook as well, and I can be reached at any time. So yeah, thank you guys. I look forward to our next podcast.
I know, me too. I can't wait to share our results.
Me too. I'm really excited about that, because genetics have a vital role in life, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm excited. So thanks for having me. I love you.
You're welcome.
You rock my world.
See you next time.
Bye. Have a good night, y'all.
Bye.